Welcome to another edition of Talk to the Town, and today we thought we'd take a road trip. So we decided to come to Springdale to visit Captain Gladys Osmond, and she's got a very interesting hobby since she retired. And we're going to get her to tell us a little bit about what she does and why she does it. And while we're going through this, you'll see that it's a very interesting thing that other people might like to take up because it helps other people get to know the world and get to know other things that's going on around, especially with the missionaries. Thanks, Mrs. Osmond, for letting us come in and visit you today.
You're very welcome. Glad to have you.
Now, like we do with most everybody when we start to do a little interview, we try to find out a little bit about their background. So can you tell us where you were born and grew up?
I was born in Grand Falls in 1923. Grew up there, went to school there. And through my younger days as a teenager, I used to write some people. I got the name some from the Old Family Herald or somewhere, or from the War Cry. And I wrote people in other countries. Not a great lot, but some. And I became interested. And in 1943, I went to the training college in St. John's and trained as a Salvation Army officer.
Now, what was the idea behind becoming an officer with so many other careers out there? What was the interest?
Well, I was a very quiet person, but I knew God had power. He could fix me so that I'd be bolder. And it's what I always wanted to do, and I knew that with His help that I could do it. And with my training and being pushed along by my superiors, I was commissioned in 1944 as a lieutenant, and I went to Monkstown in Placentia Bay as officer in charge of the church and also as a teacher. And as a teacher, I taught from kindergarten to grade 9, and the children were using slates back then. But it's amazing what those young people could do with very few books and no paper to write on, or very rarely, but still the work was in their heads. And they always kept it there, and they were just great and very well behaved.
No, even today, you get the chance to probably drop in some of the schools. How do you compare the schools today with when you were teaching?
Oh, there's a lot of difference. They have a lot more equipment, of course, now. And as far as behavior is concerned, back 55 years ago, and even more recent than that, the teacher and the clergy seemed to be more respected, and they just looked up to them all the time. And I found that even with a crowded day school, there was no problem at all with discipline.
Now, to become a officer and go out and take on a church in a different town, how much of a training did it take?
Well, back then it took us a year, and we had extra lessons to do after we went out at our work. But now it takes at least 2 years and a lot of extra training besides. But you learn as you go along. And you do a lot of reading if you're fortunate enough to have the time to do it. And you sort of learn as you go.
Now, over the many years you served in a lot of places, can you just tell us some of where the places you served?
Well, Monkstown was my first corps. It was corps and school. That was 55 years ago. Next it was Creston, which wasn't too far away. And of course, corps and school as well, and from kindergarten to grade 10. And from there to Long Island, it was called Lush's Bight at that time, also in school as well as the church work, and from kindergarten to grade 9. Then from there to Peterview, again, school. I had 84 students in school, from kindergarten to grade 8, plus all the church work. And there was no spare time.
No, no spare time you mentioned, but you somehow built up that great interest of writing letters to a lot of people. You mentioned earlier that you did some while you were young. Did you have the time to write a few letters while you were doing the church work and the school work?
No, I didn't have time to write then. I rarely wrote home because your day began about 5 o'clock in the morning and it finished when you fell asleep on the table. Decided it's time to quit. It was full time.
When you retired, you took up this hobby of writing again. What year was that?
I retired in 1988, and I had met some missionaries while I was away. And my final appointments, my last two appointments were in Toronto, where I worked at the Evangeline residence. That was for post-psychiatric patients, street people, battered women. And I didn't really know what life was like until I got there and met those people and spent time with them. And they became very special to me, and it changed my life for the better. I realized that we have a beautiful country here in Canada, and especially here in Newfoundland. And to see those people that are homeless in a country like Canada, it just breaks your heart. And I keep in touch with some of those as well. And my last appointment was at the retired officer's residence, and I was in medical work there, not as a nurse totally, but that was the type of work it was, Salvation Army Health Services. And we had 92 retired officers, and that's a place where you can get all sorts of stories of their experience. And I still write to some of those, and they're in their 90s now, but it's so good to hear from them and keep in touch with those.
Now, there seems to be a lot of writing going on here during the months. I understand you write around 200 letters a month?
I average 200. In January this year, I wrote 218.
That's a lot of letters to be writing. You can't have much time to do much else, though, but I understand you also have other things you do.
I do a Bible study at the nursing home on Thursday mornings. I've been doing that now for about 3 years, and I find it very interesting. When I was asked to do this at first, I thought 90% of them won't hear me, but it's absolutely amazing. Even the people that we consider are deaf, they hear every word. And I think God does that. In fact, I know God does that. It's one lady that you speak to her, but you don't have a conversation because she doesn't hear. She sits next to me with her good ear, and she hears every word, and she's into our discussions. And you get 18 or 20 people, and average age of about 90, that can sit and talk about the Bible and talk about their experiences, and they all chip in and have their say, and it's just great. It's very rewarding.
Now, you mentioned you grew up in Grand Falls, and you spent a lot of time going around different places. What brought you to Springdale to retire?
Well, I spent a few years in Springdale in the 70s, and I got to know the people here and got involved in church work, and I worked for a while with social services, and spent some time at the Women's Institute doing crafts, and it just drew me back. I could have retired and stayed in Toronto, but that's no place for somebody like me to get around on subways and all this sort of thing. It's better to be home. And I find that here in Springdale, it's an ideal place because people are friendly, and the business people, they go out of their way to help. You don't even have to go shopping for your groceries. You can call up and they'll bring it to your door. And every business in the place is the same way. It's just great.
Now, we talk about groceries and things like that. You have to pay your rent where you stay here at Valley Vista Senior Citizen Complex. How does a lady with a fixed income manage to do all this writing?
Well, first, my rent is paid. That takes half my income. And then you sort of squeeze things together until you get enough. I always buy 100 stamps when I get my check. At least that's a start. But I have friends and I have family that when they write, they'll put a few stamps in. And Christmas, everybody knows what to give me, stationery and postage. And for January, I didn't have to buy any except about 300 1-cent stamps to go with the 46s I had, and a few 5-cent stamps to go with the 90s. So there's a lot of help.
Now, most of these letters that you write, are they one-page letters, or do they extend, like, say, 6- and 7-page letters?
The longest one I wrote recently is 9 pages. I wrote that by hand. I sat down one morning and wrote a 9-page letter. But usually it's about a page, and if it's typewritten, a page says a lot. But handwritten sometimes takes a bit more.
Now, when I walked in, I noticed you had a computer, you got a typewriter here, and you seem to do a fair amount of handwriting. Do you do all your your letters on your typewriter, or you use your computer, or do you write them all by hand?
I usually type a letter to give a general idea of what's going on around me at that month during the time, something that may be of interest to everybody. And I get the church bulletins, and I will receive, I'd like to have them from other towns as well. I get the church bulletins and put them in, and various things that come out, and sometimes clippings from the newspapers. Makes interesting. And then a personal note with that, and it makes a pretty good letter.
Now that sounds like a very interesting thing. It must take up a lot of your day. Where do you get the time then for other things, like visitors to come in and drop in, have a chat, and a cup of coffee?
I don't get very many visitors. Everybody knows I'm out somewhere, or I'm busy. I spend a lot of time down at the nursing home. Usually I put in as a volunteer on my own time. I put in about 50 hours a month visiting, and I do chapel services when the officer or the minister is unable to attend. That with the Bible study and visiting takes up a lot of my time. If I get tired of my own company, I'll go down in the home and talk to folks down there.
Now, you said you're tired of your own company. What do you mean by that? You don't actually start talking to yourself and wondering what you're going to do next, is it?
I talk to myself sometimes to make sure I can still talk. No, I just get myself organized, and I get tired of writing. My arm gets tired, and you sort of figure you need a change. So I'll go down in the home for an hour or two.
Now, if there's somebody watching this and they wanted to drop by and sit down and listen to some of the stories that you got, because you must have a lot of stories that you won't be able to tell us tonight, what would be the best time to drop by to see you?
Well, usually after supper, I'm usually home, except on Tuesday nights when I go to church, and of course Sundays. But other times from, say, 7 o'clock on. And I've got lots and lots of stories.
Now, over and above these letter writings that you do to the missionaries and the people that you write on a regular basis, you also write to something else, do a little something for the kids that's graduating in the area.
Yeah, for the past few years I've written notes to all the students as they graduate. And I save postage by sending a bunch of them to the school in a big envelope, and they deliver them. And some of the young people who've gone out to college, I've gotten their addresses, and I write to them as well.
Now, we're going to take a little break now, and we're going to walk around here, because you've got quite a few pictures and that's up around your walls, and we'll get you to tell us a little bit about some of the pictures and things you got on your wall.
Okay.
Probably the oldest picture on your wall, and just tell us a little bit about that.
This is our family picture. My father and my mother, my brother, who passed away a couple of years ago, and my sister, Mrs. Lillian Parsons, who's up in the cottage, and myself, the little one.
And that was taken quite a few years ago, I guess.
I think I was about 8 years old on that one.
No.
That's 69 years ago.
We'll just take a little slide to the left there, called the Monkstown Dory.
It probably is, but this is, as you go in, this is the road sign as you go into Monkstown. I went back in August last, and that was the first time I'd been there for about 55 years. And to go back after all those years, and to meet some of my students or grandparents,
Yes.
I think it's absolutely amazing. I remember standing with those people there and just looking around, and the past year I had been to every one of my corps, and as I stood with them, automatically the words came out, "Now I'm satisfied to die." But I'm not really, but I've done everything that is really important to me.
Now, just below that, there's a bunch of students.
This was taken in 1944 at Monkstown. And some of those have grown up to be teachers and officers, ministers, nurses. For instance, this is Major Ray Piercy, some people would remember. And he's got a whole lot of hair on his head there. He was 5, he was in kindergarten. And I can name just about every one of those.
And just below that, there's one in Creston?
That's at Creston. These are some of the younger students. That was taken outside the school.
Now, just to the right of that picture, there's...
Town. It was built recently. It's a very small town, and as far as population is concerned, there may not be as many people as there were when I was there, and there was only about 20 families there then. But they're self-sufficient. They run their school, and they're not even in debt. They
Yep.
just keep everything going.
Now, just above that, there's what looks to be a garage, but I understand it might be the first church.
It's somebody's storehouse now. I got to see this in August. That was my school and my church, my first one in Monkstown. And what a thrill to go back and see it.
And now you can get Dawson to pan down. This is standing in front of the church area in Springdale?
This is the church at Creston.
Oh, it's at Creston.
It's a new one.
It's
yeah.
a lot like the one here in Springdale, and thought that might be the... But what a difference from the older
From
days
those two?
to now, right?
Yes, it's a lot of difference.
Okay. Looks like you the mugshot here.
Well, ever since my 70th birthday, I tried to do something each year that I've never done before. So while in Labrador City, the chief of police decided to put me in jail for my birthday. I've got the mugshots, I had the fingerprints, the handcuffs, and I was in the cell for the first time in my life.
And there we see you peeping out the cell door. Now, this wasn't real serious. It's just something to do for fun.
Just for birthday.
Just for birthday.
That was my birthday gift.
Now, we also see a lot of pictures there with different people. Who would this one be right here? You get right there, yeah, that's it.
Now, this is a lady that the people of Kings Point would be very interested in. Major Louise Slade. She was stationed there some years ago, and she's passed on within the last couple of years. But she always told me that was her favorite place to be, Kings Point. But she never got back in her later years. And this is Brigadier Bishop. She spent 22 years in Africa as a missionary. She's still living in St. John's, and I keep in touch with her. And we've been friends over the years.
I guess you had to try a motorcycle too?
I had to try the motorcycle. I did that for my 72nd birthday. I was at Pillizon, and I did 2 weeks of services there while the officers were away. And when I saw this bike, I said, I got to have a ride. So
now,
this is what happened there.
Did you actually get to drive the bike?
Not very far. I don't have a license. I didn't want to get in trouble.
Leading a service with the accordion?
This was at Hampton. And I'm no expert. I can just manage. I wouldn't play in front of any experts. I retired my accordion to my granddaughter when I retired.
What I guess we call a christening.
Dedication, we call it in the Salvation Army. And this is a baby that I dedicated about 2 years ago, perhaps 3 years. The Jenkins family, who are quite familiar with me, asked me if I'd come down and dedicate their granddaughter. So there's some of the family. The grandmother's Joan Jenkins.
Picture also on the wall of a bunch of beavers. I guess you spent some time with those types of groups?
Yes, these are my beavers when I was stationed at Seal Cove. And we had quite a group of them. They were just great. I used to call them little blueberries.
So you did, over the number of years, you did many things and found the time to do it.
Yeah, I organized the first guide troop in Peterview before I retired.
I guess you performed quite a few marriages too.
I did one marriage. Years ago, women weren't allowed to do it. But while I was at Seal Cove, I did my first wedding. Funerals, I mean, you did the funerals in every place.
Oh. You write too?
Yeah, this pastor, Mrs. Radford, and his family.
Right.
And they were in Africa. And here's another one. There's his assistant.
Do you write to different religion ministries?
Yes, I have quite a list of the Pentecostal missionaries. I get them from the church here.
Oh.
Dr. Paul Thistle, he married in August. I keep in touch with them as well. I've done Colonel Roy and Joy Bungay. They're in Papua New Guinea, where they had that big tidal wave recently.
Right.
And I've kept in touch with
now,
those.
right up in the corner there we see a little girl. I guess that's one of the children?
This is little Katie Norton. Her parents have been in Russia for the past 4 years. And she's a little girl that's been born since she's been there. And I think they have a new baby recently.
Now, as we get Dawson to pan up, we see some of the crowd that you have at your Bible study at the Senior Citizens Home.
Yes.
There's a group around the table. And then you're standing just above that with a couple of ladies.
Yeah, those two have passed on, but they're still very precious in our memories.
Now, how much time does it take you to prepare for the Bible study for these senior citizens?
Oh, I work on 2 or 3 days, but I mean not the whole time, perhaps an hour or two each day. 5 or 6 hours anyway.
And still, even as you're retired, you still put the time into doing
yes.
things?
Yeah. It's nice to be able to do something. What I do, I type a page and about something. I usually take a subject rather than go through a series. That way, if they're missing a class, they're not missing anything. For instance, one day we did miracles. We spoke about miracles.
Right.
And I spoke about the miracles in the Bible. And then I asked them if they knew of a personal miracle. And every one of them told us something. It's great that they really get involved.
So they still attend churches as much as they can that's
yes.
offered to them?
Yeah.
And they enjoy you coming in to visit with them?
Oh, yes.
Now let's move over. Would this be part of the church group, or is it?
This part of my family, Manuel's family. I was a Manuel before I was married. And this is my great-grandfather, George Manuel. And that happened to be my father's name as well. Some people, if you knew Max Osmond and look at that picture, you'd know they were related. And these are the brothers, 7 brothers. There were 16 in the family, the girls as well as the boys. And one of the women was the great-grandfather to John Crosby. And she was the backbone of the Crosby business.
So you got some pretty good connections there.
I do have. I should have pretty good genes.
Yeah.
Loud genes.
Now, I guess throughout all these things too, you've had people send you other little mementos.
Oh.
Can we get to have a look at some of the mementos that you've got?
Oh yes, we retired officer many years ago. And while I worked at the retired officer's residence, the wife gave it to me as a souvenir. And this also came from overseas. No doubt from India.
Now, there's something here. I guess this is part of your schooling days?
I didn't manage to get a bell to take with me, but I found this one, a replica of the ones I used to use. It wasn't an electric one, but it's great. It's one of my best souvenirs.
Can we hear that? Because it's a long time since I heard one of those bells.
It's loud.
Hopefully everybody remembered that sound. Now, something I noticed which would seem to be fairly interesting is a 55-year calendar, and you said that came from?
It came from India, from missionaries who came back from India. And you just set it around and it gives you the days, and it's perfect. It works out perfectly. And it's good until 2022.
So still a few years left on it
Still a
yet?
few years, it'll last me.
And it won't go down with the 2,000-year bug?
No, it won't. No, it's not affected. Stan?
You might have to zoom in.
And these are made from copper tailings. Also came from Pakistan.
So you Chinese Buddha.
Chinese Buddha. And I think it's made from jade as well.
So now all the other interesting stories that you have, and you say you have many, people can drop by and sit down, and you don't mind telling them a story about, just relate us one story that would mean something to the people, for say one missionary in India probably.
Perhaps I tell you about someone that the people have met recently from Thailand.
Okay.
The Ridots. Avis Ridot. I met her about 3 years ago for the first time. I had been writing to her for several years. And we met here in Springdale, became friends. The next time I met her, they had just opened their orphanage for babies with AIDS. And right out of the blue, she said, "You should come and help us." And right then I thought, this most impossible thing that I could do. But before the day was out, I thought, why not? So I called my family. They all okayed it. They knew I wanted to do something like this. I went to see my doctor, and she says, nothing wrong with your age or your health. I got all my shots. And before even I asked, people said, when you want a fundraiser, let us know. So everything was okayed that way. And I had even my passport and everything. I had everything ready to go. When Avis called me from Thailand, and instead of being able to live with the family, I knew I was working for free. That didn't matter. And the plan was at first that I would live with them. So anyway, it wouldn't cost me and I wouldn't gain.
Right.
But then I found out that I wouldn't be able to live with them. I'd have to get my own apartment and furnish it, and I'd be on my own and at my income. And not only that, after a few months I'd lose my pension anyway.
Right.
So it wasn't a thing to do, but I still keep in touch with them. I would love to have gone.
So if there's anybody out there with all those air miles that you'd like to donate so you could fly over there and just to visit?
Oh, I'd love to.
So
I'd just love to.
So that's a challenge out there now. If anybody's got those air miles they don't know what to do with, there's a lady right in front of you now that could use that, and you could make something special for her. In her, we won't mention what year she is celebrating now, but you heard her say earlier she'd like to do something different every year. Maybe this is the year she could visit Thailand.
Yeah, Thailand or one of the other many countries. I write to people all through Africa, 16 countries in Africa, and through Asia, and Germany, Spain, Portugal, any country you can mention.
Now, we'll go back to sitting down at the table, and then we'll run through some of the countries that you've got listed.
Okay.
Here that you do a lot of writing to different countries. Can you just tell us some of the countries? You got a long list there. Just run through some of the countries that you write to.
A lot of countries in Africa. In fact, at least 16 countries in Africa, like Zaire, Durban, Uganda, Tanzania, Kenya, so on. I have people in Australia, New Zealand, Papua New Guinea, Cuba, Barbados, Jamaica, the Bahamas, and in South America there's Brazil, Suriname, and Venezuela. Singapore, India, Germany, Japan, Russia, France, Spain, Mexico, Sri Lanka, Finland, and quite a few more.
Now, the postage must be different to send letters to each one. So how do you remember which amount of postage to put on each letter?
Well, I'm getting to know the new postage now. It used to be 52 to the States. It's a bit more than that now. And it used to be 90 cents for overseas and other countries, but now it's 95, plus your tax, of course. And, of course, regular Canadian, it's 46 cents now, plus your tax.
Now, I wonder, have you ever approached or had anybody approach the Canada Post and see if they'd give you a reduction in your mailing out of your letters because of the purpose of what you're doing?
No, I haven't thought about that, but some of the folks that work at the post office, they've helped me out at times. And occasionally they've had a sale where for one coupon you could get extra stamps, and they always give me those.
Yeah. Now, in a person in your job as a minister in the churches, over the years there must have been numerous times when you've read the Bible and picked out different verses. Is there one verse that means a lot to you?
It's one that I've got a lot of special ones, but this one came to me after I realized that although I was prepared to go to Thailand for at least a couple of years, and when I knew that that was out of the picture, this one came to me, and it's found in Philippians chapter 4 and verse 11. Part of the verse, it says, "For I have learned in whatsoever state I am, therewith to be content." And if you can accept that verse, your life is going to be so happy.
So that has quite a lot in that little verse, isn't it?
There's a lot in that, yeah. Therewith to be content.
Now, again, you've preached a good many messages, and you've seen, I guess, over the years, a good many people come to the Lord, as they say, over the years. Some of those people, when you see them now, what do they say to you?
Oh, what a change is in their lives. And I mean, you can see the change in their lives. And they're really happy about it. And a lot of them say, I don't see why I didn't do this years ago. I should have.
Now, also, what type of things do the people that you're writing to write back and say about the feeling that they get knowing that there's somebody over here in Newfoundland that keep in touch with?
There have been some special letters. For instance, there was a couple of young officers that were stationed in Western Canada. And I hadn't planned to write to them, but I'd keep a list of the names that I write. And at this time, my book was used out, and I didn't have another. So I found a small notebook, and I figured, well, I'd use the pages in that now until I can get to the store and get one. So I filled out one page with the names, and when I turned the next one, on the page was Ken and Pansy. Well, Ken and Pansy, I knew who that was right away. I taught school with him, and I taught his wife in school. And I thought, I'll draw a line through that and continue on. Then I thought, well, the names are there, I might as well write to them. I knew their address. And he must have written right away. He said, you don't know what that letter meant. We were talking it over among ourselves, should we stay or should we go? And on the bottom of the letter I had written the little chorus that we sing sometimes, just where he needs me, my Lord has placed me. And that's what changed their mind. Another instance, a couple of our officers that have been officers for a good many years and have been stationed in a good place, and I happened to decide I'd write to them. I didn't know them very well. I had spoken to them a couple of times here in Newfoundland, and this happened about 4 years ago. And I just sat and wrote them a letter. And he said, your letter came just when we needed it. He said, my wife brought the letter into me. She had read it and passed it along to him. He said, I was sitting down with the newspapers and looking at the want ads. He said, it changed my mind.
Now, when you take a little trip down over to the hill to the post office and you meet some other resident at the post office and you take out your amount of mail compared to theirs, how does it compare?
I don't get as many letters as you'd think, because I always make it plain to people that I write that they are not obligated to answer. I know that they are busy, and I do it because I just love to do it, and I have the time to do it. But I do get letters. I get quite a few, and I just can't wait every day to go down and have a look, see what's there.
Now, we mentioned earlier you write to the students that's graduating. Have you ever heard back from any of the students of what they thought of the letter?
Not in a lot of cases, but twice over the last couple of years, students have been working down at the home, either part-time or perhaps they're hired on for the summer. And when I'm introduced, oh, sure, I got a letter from you when I graduated. You know, different ones have said that.
So they remember?
They remember.
Now, you mentioned that you had something special in another room, so we got to move the cameras now and go to another room to see this something special.
Okay. That means that these are people that I pray for. Some are overseas, some are here in town. And when I tell somebody I will pray for them, I come home and I put a star there. Now, I don't remember everybody's star, but God knows every star. Some I remember. I can tell you the names of some of them because I remember them.
Now, there's little letters on there, too, different letters. What are the meanings of those?
That's people's initials.
So that helps you to try and remember?
That helps remember. I remember certain ones, yeah.
Now, we seem to have a real, what you call a congestion right here in the middle, and very few over in the Soviet Union. So is there not many in the Soviet Union?
There are a few, but not quite a lot. This is the beginning of the Soviet Union. I've got a few here in this area, and a few right here.
Right.
Because, I mean, they joined. But I couldn't get everybody in Newfoundland because it's only a small spot, so I had to stick them out in the ocean, wherever. But I began by putting them in places where they belonged.
Now, this must make for a good conversation piece when you have somebody drop in and visit.
It does, and it's the first thing I see in the morning, it's the last thing I see at night.
Now, do you ever go to visit some of the schools around here and tell these stories?
No, I've never done that.
So if there's a school out there that's watching, say, Valmont, over in our area that would be interested in having you to come in and chat to the students, would you be interested in doing it?
No problem, whatever.
So there you go, teachers. If you're looking for something for a different, for your religion class, you got the lady here.
Pictures included.
Pictures included, she said. No, we just had a look at that map, and it...
That's my prayer map.
Your prayer map, and it's a lot of people on there, and now we're looking at something that I've never seen. It's a Bible of another religion, I assume, is it?
It's the Holy Quran, and it came from Pakistan. It's a Muslim Bible, and I was surprised. It's written in 3 languages, including English, so I can read it. And when I began reading it, I was surprised that so many things corresponded with what we have, because we don't know too much about the Muslim religion. But it tells the story of Moses, and it tells the story about Noah. And where we refer to God, they say Allah. But apart from that, there's so many similarities. Like the way that they should live, and they should take care of widows and orphans. They should be kind to each other. All this goes through their Bible. And you don't read it as we read our Bible. You go from the back to the front. This is what we would call the front of our Bible is here.
So it's read backwards.
Yeah, you go backwards.
Now, you mentioned that you worked at the home for sheltered and battered people. I know a lot of people hear these stories, and usually the bad stories, on the TV. Can you tell us a good story about when you were there?
Well, it's a good story, but it's a very sad one. I'll tell you about one person. Her name was Darlene. She came to our facility one evening. She was brought there by a social worker. And when she came, she had a cast on her arm. Her arm was out like this, a total cast from the shoulder to her fingers. And I didn't know anything about her because usually people had to call in and we'd find a bit about them before we came in. But this was about 9 o'clock at night. I was the only one on duty, and I took her in. But about that time I was getting tea for the rest of the residents that were there. We took in 40 at a time. And I talked to her for a minute, and then I told her to have a seat, and as soon as I got the tea ready, I'd do the forms to fill in. And she kind of avoided some of the answers when I asked. But I did find out that when she, I didn't really, there's something about her name that came to me, like I've heard it before. So another staff person came on at 11 at night, and we sat and talked about it. And she said, I remember seeing it in the paper, and then of course I saw it. I remember it. There was an item in the Toronto Star saying about this young woman. She was Canada's most dangerous woman. And now we had her in our place. And it was only the one person on staff, and I lived in the building. It was only the two of us there. And of course we had already taken her in. And I couldn't, I talked to a social worker, I called a social worker, and they said, well, we had to send her to you or put her back in jail. And I just couldn't see myself sending her to jail. And well, the police station, our police station, was only about 2 minutes away if we had any problem. But she didn't seem like she was going to be a problem. So I finished the intake, and I found out that before she came to us, she had been in jail for 18 months. Before that, she had a 7-year term. And it had to be something serious, of course, but I didn't question her. And I did the intake, and I talked to her, and she said she was 28. And I remembered my daughter Joan was that age at that time, and sort of put the two together. And she said, am I allowed out? And I said, yes, you can go out up until 11 o'clock is our curfew. You have to come back then. And if you're not back, you'll have to go somewhere else for the night. So she went out, and on the way out, she said, would you like me to get you a bottle of pop? And I said, you better save your money because I'll soon be off duty now. So when she came back in plenty of time, and she was on the phone talking to somebody when I was on my way to the elevator, and she called me along. And she had a chocolate bar and a can of drink for me. And she looked so sad, and I said, would you like to have a hug? Because I was a real hug person, because they needed hugs more than anything. And I said, would you like to have a hug? And so with the cast and all, she got her hug. So I went upstairs, and there's an intercom from my room down to what was going on downstairs, and I only half slept. And the next morning, I went to her room. It was my job to come down, make sure that each floor had the people out. Some had appointments, and some others had to go out to a workshop to make sure everybody was out. But when I went down, she was still in bed, so I sat on the bed, and I told her, she had to get up now and go down and get breakfast and go out and see what she had to do for the day. So before she went out that morning, I said, would you like a hug? So she got a hug. She stayed with us for a week, and she came every morning to get her hug. The last day that she was there, she had to go to the hospital and get the cast taken off. And she didn't know if she'd be back with us anymore. So I wrote on the cast, you are a very special young lady. Please don't forget me. And I wrote down my address and my phone number. I said, you can call me anytime, anywhere, wherever you are. I never saw her again. After I retired, I'd been home for about a year when I had a call from a social worker. And she said, "You remember Darlene? Darlene committed suicide." And I thought, did anybody even shed a tear? That poor girl. She never had any friends. She had nobody. And that's the last I heard of Darlene. But so many young people did that, jumped in front of the subway, finished their lives. They had nothing left to live for.
So that was actually a good story, but yet it turned out to be bad. But when we stop and think, the people got to be special to be the people to be put there to deal with those problems, and they must have something special behind them to help them deal with those problems.
Oh yes, you have to see them as God would see them. That's the answer. See them as Jesus would see them.
Now, we've talked here for quite a while now, and one thing that we wanted to let the public know is that this can be costly, and you've mentioned that you get help from your friends, but there's also other people that help you, like churches. Tell us some of the other people that do help.
The Pentecostal Church here in Springdale gave me a check not too long ago for postage. The Salvation Army here has helped, and the Pentecostal Church in Southbrook, they've helped me as well, and as well as friends around. But it is costly. It costs me about $200 a month for postage.
Now, if there's anyone out there that's got extra paper lying around or a few pennies that they'd like to drop off a book of stamps, would you appreciate that type of help?
Oh, I'd appreciate it very much.
Now, for the people out there that don't know where you live in the cottages back at Valley Vista. You want to tell them what cottage?
Cottage 28, and my name is in the book if you want to call.
And the door is open most of the time and during the day?
Most of the time during the day. And if the best time would be from 7 in the evening on, except on Tuesday when I go to church, and of course on Sunday. But otherwise.
So if there's anybody out there that got an extra bundle of paper or would like to drop by one of the post offices and pick up some stamps, she'd gladly appreciate to have the help. And I'm sure she'd probably put your name on that map we seen earlier and say thanks and probably have a prayer for you. Yeah. Thanks for letting us come in and interrupt your Saturday afternoon.
It's great. Yeah, I've enjoyed it. But I can talk for a long time.
Yeah, maybe we might even get another trip back.
Oh, yes.
And
that's on another subject or a different,
Yes, and hopefully you'll have a few people call you and tell you that they enjoyed the show.
That's good. And I'd like to say hello to the folks at Kings Point. I've done services down there, and I've really enjoyed their presence.
Thanks again now.